all right, party people. I know we gotta let the notifications go out. We gotta give it a moment and everything. So y'all should be getting the notifications shortly. So while we do this here prelude, oh, there they go. So we gotta give y'all a moment to get in. All right. So we all, and then let's get to my comments. Thank you very much, there, Angela English and stuff. Um, yepper. So all right. So mhm. Yep, feel free to ask your question. So whatever questions y'all got. Oh boy. Oh man.
Good evening.
What's going on, Janice? Or Janice? And stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So 30 years, huh, babe?
Yes.
30 years. And it wasn't long years. It's like
It went by very quickly.
yeah.
Seemed like it was just yesterday.
Mhm.
Seriously.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, 30 years.
Thank you, Shirley King.
Yeah. So hold on one second. Let me pull something up here. Oh, well, you know what? That's right. I got it on my community tab. So let me play for y'all real quick. The, the video that the missus put together. I always don't have my stuff straight. Sorry about that, y'all. All right. Share sound. There we go. Yeah. All right, party people. So that is us. Man, yeah, we just wanted to hop up here and just say first I want to say thank you for marrying me. We met many, many years ago in the most obscure place. And we've been together ever since. We met that one night and we just been together ever since. And yeah, she got my back, I got her back, and I am thoroughly, thoroughly pleased as a man to be married to this woman. I know a lot. I wouldn't be able to accomplish a lot of what I'm doing if she didn't support me. And she has given me the type of support that I, in my opinion, personally feel that every man should have is a woman who trusts and believes in the Most High, as well as the Most High will speak to her man and give him guidance. And then she speaks to him also and encourages him and be there for him. So, um, when I went full time in this notary business, and she heard me fussing with my manager on the phone, and she just simply said, "Griff, I'm not telling you to leave, but it's time for you to go." And I'll be honest with you, seeing all the stuff that's going on out here with these celebrity relationships, I can confidently say ain't none of them ladies saying that to their man. That, hey, I see you need to make a move, go make that move, and I support you. So I appreciate my wife for doing that. So I sleep good every night, knowing that when I wake up, I got her full support, and everything. So, and then I appreciate y'all for supporting us and everything that we're doing in ministry. In I guess you could say sort of the marriage ministry, just ministry of life and everything else. So, the business, my business, her business, family, all of that. So, really, really do appreciate each and every one of y'all.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all of your love and provision and protection and support that we've had for these past 30 years, 31 overall.
Yeah.
And
We wasn't shacking for that 1 year now.
No.
Okay, we weren't shacking. Yeah, ooh, 31.
No.
The next thing I know, somebody on Instagram, they was shacking.
No
Hashtag they was shacking.
No shacking. No hashtag no shacking here. Okay. No shacking here. But I want to say thank you because when I think about it's like, wow, we've been together more than half of our natural lives. And to really think about that, especially in today's climate, among relationships, it's truly a blessing from the Most High that we are together, that we are one, that just how much you've grown and how much you've matured as a man, as a husband, as a father, is just awesome. And I just want to thank you for the sacrifices that you make, each and every day to make sure that, you're being used as a vessel from the Most High to be, the man, the husband, and the father that you've been called to be. And we have worked in ministry together prior to, where we are now, but we've worked in ministry together. We've done we've done everything together, and it's just we really are each other's best friend, and it's just been a quick 30 years. I can't believe how fast it went by. We met when we were 25 years old, and we're now 56.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like it literally was yesterday. When we met. when you walk through,
Yeah.
my friend's door,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there waiting for her to come back, and you walked through, and we met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just, like I said, I've heard a lot of people, over the years, we've heard people, complain about their marriage and complain about their spouses and things of that nature. But, I can truly, truly say that I've had an awesome, awesome um, marriage relationship. Um, I know the grass isn't greener on the other side. I know that.
Because I put
And
weed killer over there. I killed all that grass.
but I just, I'm just really in awe. I'm really in awe that that you can look up and 30 years can be gone just like that. And I'm just glad that I've been able to um spend these last 30 years with you. Um, bringing up our sons who are now adults. They're uh, Solomon's what, 27,
Mm-hmm.
and our oldest son will be 29 in a few weeks. So it has definitely been a blessing. It
Yeah.
has definitely been a blessing, especially in today's climate where people are getting divorces just because. Just
Yeah.
fill in the blank. Just fill in the blank. So it really is a blessing to um, you know, be able to come home every day and know that we're not having tension and fights and fussing and arguing, and we're not in competition with one another. It's just a blessing. It's just a blessing. So, but you got to work at it. You got to work at it,
Yeah.
everyone. You have to work at it. Um, you become one. You become one. It's not something that just happens overnight. You've got to grow. You got to mature. I always tell people I didn't even really want to speak too much on marriage
Yeah.
when we first got married because quite frankly, especially now that I look back on it, I didn't know enough. I didn't know anything. I didn't have enough life experience. I didn't have enough experience in marriage to try to tell someone else, what they should or should not do. And so, now I look back on it and we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that we were saying and some of the things that we were doing. Um, when we first got married and just, how I may have responded to things, whether it was towards him or whether it was about our children and things of that nature. Um, you know, I was like, yeah, I needed to renew my mind. I needed to continue to grow. I needed to continue to learn um, and develop and get better as a wife, as a mom, as a grown woman. And that's the truth. Um, and just looking at the landscape, like I said, of relationships nowadays, I didn't even know that half of the things that people are breaking up over and things of that nature. We just kind of laugh at it because it's like, wow, you know, people are really breaking up over these things.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just had to really, we had to learn to communicate. We had to learn that if we didn't see eye to eye, if we disagreed on something, that we had to learn how to talk to one another,
Yeah.
and we had to learn to work it out, and we had to learn to come to a common ground. Um, and you do have to keep people out of your marriage. You do. You have to keep them out. You have to learn how to protect your marriage. And you need to learn how to keep chaos out of your marriage, and tension and envy and jealousy and all of those type things. And if you don't learn how to protect your marriage, it'll be gone. It will. It'll be gone. And there are plenty of people out there who will help you tear up your marriage relationship if you let them. That's the key. If you let them. Um, but we learned very, very early on that if we, had an ought with one another, if we did not agree, if we did not understand, you know, what we needed to do, that we spent time in prayer, and we spent time talking and communicating with one another, um, until we got the answer, until we got the solution, and how we were supposed to move forward in whatever we were endeavoring to do together. And that's the key, you know. And we enjoy each other's company. uh it's all right. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, we had to keep people out of the business or limit exposure to people that we felt was not where we wanted to be. So some people are cool with you to a certain extent, and you can kick it with them, and okay, once or twice a year, that's all we can take of them. And and then there's just some people you just had to completely move out of your way altogether. The one thing that I appreciated that she always protected me against, and I just say it straight up, against toxic femininity. I know some people don't want to hear that, but there are some ladies out there that was always trying to tell her how I should be.
Yeah.
And they wasn't in a good relationship themselves. They wasn't letting their man be who he needed to be for them. It was never good enough. Or they didn't have anybody at all. They were just straight up single, and they was just constantly trying to tell her how I'm supposed to treat her. No matter what I did, it was never good enough. And I would have to say she always protected me against that, of some other woman trying to put her standard on how I'm supposed to be as a man, and me trying to live my life in accordance with what she wanted with my wife. And it didn't make sense. I'm supposed to follow what you're saying that you feel that I should be doing that'll make you happy, but I'm doing it with her. And she's not happy. But you're happy that I'm doing it for her. And I guess I'm supposed to be the example that now your man's supposed to look at and say, see, Griff doing it for her, so you should do it for me. And I was like, nah, I don't play that, you know. So I stayed away from that. And she never came with any of that, like, well, so and so said that you need to be treating me this way, that way, or the other. If my wife ever felt that I needed to treat her a certain way, it was because she felt that way. It was not based on some other female human being telling her you need to treat her, you need to treat he needs to treat you this way. And the same thing with me with the fellas. No fella ever like, okay, well, Griff, you need to treat her this way. This I'm like, I'm grown enough, I can figure it out. And if you pay attention to your spouse, you pay attention to what's going on, you'll know, okay, I need to step my game up here, this, that, or the other. Sometimes you just open your mouth and ask, even if they don't seem to be that open or receptive to the talking, just ask anyway, put it out there and try to figure it out. But I never went based off of what other guys were doing, saying, okay, I'm gonna do that. Now I did say, okay, I know I ain't gonna do that. There was some things like, okay, that is universal. Don't do that, fellas. Don't. Mm-mm. But I knew, like, one of the things I knew not to sit here and embarrass her in front of other people, to talk smack to her or about her in front of other people. I never talked negative to my about my wife to my sons. Never even thought about hitting her or raising my hand at her,
Never.
or as the
No.
comedian say, shake her real. None of that, none of that. So, and those are things that I saw guys would do because they didn't feel they had control. I was confident in who I am, what I'm supposed to do as a man. So, if I needed to be corrected, okay, fine. But if, I was like, if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So let's move forward. Let's at least try. Okay, we'll do your way. We'll do my way. We'll figure it out. But I just didn't have confidence in listening to some other man who really didn't know me as a person or my wife to say I had to do what he said was successful. And I'm like, but that's for your woman. That's for yours. That I get it. Okay. In other words, what I took from it was find something to do special for her, but not necessarily what he's doing special. So his special maybe will be different from what my wife deems as special, but look at it from the standpoint of let's do something special. What is it that I can do that's special for my woman? And find out what that is and do it. That's how I looked at it. Any questions from anybody? Anybody got any questions about anything? I know y'all got some kind of question. So don't act like y'all don't. And stuff.
And just kind of piggyback on what he was talking about as far as how you treat your spouse, in public and when you're in front of other people. We see a lot of that where the husband may be disrespecting the wife, or the wife is disrespecting the husband, talking down to one another, talking bad about one another, to other people or in front of other people. That is something that we have steered clear from. And even if there was a time where I didn't respond to him, or I reacted in a way where he didn't feel respected and it was in front of other people, even if he wanted to tell me that, he told me privately. He told me privately, so that I wouldn't feel disrespected, or I wouldn't be embarrassed in front of other people. And that was something that I took to heart. And anytime I needed to make corrections within myself, so that I could treat Griff as my husband, in a respectful way, um, in a way that was a good example for our sons. And always making sure that I was being positive about my husband, with my sons, and so that they can know that their father is an excellent example, and an example that they should look at and look up to and follow. And so yeah, yeah, we just weren't taught, and divorce is in the bloodline, and people give up and don't fight for their marriages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. That when it comes to, the examples that we have out here, a lot of times we weren't taught within our own families. So many people come from, single parent homes. And so they don't ever really see the example of a husband and a wife, a mother and a father, and how you're supposed to interact with one another within the home. A lot of those things aren't even seen, let alone taught and passed down. And so that is something that we had to make a decision with one another, that we were going to really be the difference that we wanted to see. And a lot of times it may have to start with you, may have to start with your generation, and you be the one to be that example for your children, pass down the right way to say things, the right way to respond, the right way to carry yourself as a man and as a woman, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, and as a father. And these are the things that we've had to learn along the way. And it hasn't always been perfect. And it hasn't always been, like every single duck was in a row. There was a lot of adjusting, and being intentional about adjusting, and correcting ourselves. And it is a lot of self-correction. And even when we are, may have to bring something, I may bring something to his attention, or he may bring something to my attention that we need to, work on, get better. We may need to stop doing something that, you know, bothers the spouse. I mean, sometimes you may do something that gets on your spouse's nerves. I mean, it is what it is. You may actually get on your spouse's nerves by something that you're saying, by something that you're doing. Um, it just happens, and sometimes you may not even realize that you're saying it and doing it, and it's bothering your husband or it's bothering your wife. You may not even know that, but that's where that communication comes in. That's where you continue to work on your marriage. You have to, a marriage is something that you have to work at and you have to maintain, and you have to put the time in, and it's an investment, and it's a lot of things, and a lot of times people um, come into a marriage with and we joke about it all the time, the spiral staircase, with the woman coming down the spiral staircase with the pink chiffon gown, and all of this fantasizing about marriage, and
Or the guy coming home thinking every time he come home, the wife is going to be greeting him at the door with a ready-made meal, and the kids are going to be sitting there. Father, oh, so glad to see you there, Father. How was your day at work, Father? It's not like that.
It's not like that. Although we've had times where we had those type of work schedules where, when he came home, we were home, and all of those types of things. But that was when our children were very small, and I was a stay-at-home mom. when they were first, our children were first born. I did stay at home, and I took care of our sons until they were older, because we just didn't feel like if something was going on, if something was happening to them, they weren't old enough where they could, speak up for themselves, and be able to tell us what was going on. So I ended up making that decision to, come away from working outside of the home, and, put the priority on, taking care of our sons when they were, first, I think I stayed home for like 3 years, to take care of our sons. And of course, we continued to take care of them, because our son spent very little time in daycare, and that was a sacrifice, but we felt like it was worth it, to make sure that we were the ones taking care of and nurturing and disciplining and training and bringing up our sons ourselves. We didn't want them to spend more time at a daycare center than they spent with us as their mother and father.
Yeah.
So these were the type of decisions that we, had to sit down, and, we made those decisions, and, we had to be on the same page, one accord, and, own it.
Yeah. And see, after 30 years of marriage, and actually learned about this before, I guess in a nutshell is simply this. When you have a couple, two individuals who have decided to really be there for each other, I don't understand how, if you decided to be with each other in a relationship, because we understand not everybody's married, but you committed to one another in your own manner, or you decided to actually get married. How is it that that commitment doesn't translate to supporting them in their business or other areas of life? And I think sometimes it could be because of selfishness, because that business may not include the other spouse. So it's like, it don't include me, so ain't gonna help you. That college education may not include that spouse. So I'm not going to help you out with that. I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to look out for man and TT. I'm going to be thinking that you're at the school at night, chasing some women, this, that, and the other, or hooking up with some dudes. And I think if you sincerely apply true love and respect and honor in your marriage when y'all together with that regard, there's no reason why it shouldn't translate over to other areas, even if you're not running a business, just in the W-2 world, making sure that your spouse, whether it's the wife or the husband, is taken care of. They're working late shifts, they're getting up early, whatever the case may be, and find a way to be there for them if you truly care, because that's a part of it. So even though, yes, a business, it's a job, they're going to college, whatever, to me, because you're married, it's in your marriage because you're there together. It's not like y'all, just dating in their spot and you got your own spot and they just get up early, 5 o'clock in the morning, go work and come on. No, you're there and you see them going through all of this, and then you just sit there like, I'm not gonna be there for you. I ain't gonna help you. I'm not gonna make sure, you have the stuff that you need. Go out. Okay, I know they like to eat this in the morning for breakfast and we don't have it. Go to the store and get it, things of that nature. I know you like to wear these clothes. Okay, let's make sure the clothes are washed, or whatever the case may be, so that their life and their day can be easier. Why
Just
not do
helping
it for
each
them?
other
Yeah.
out. Just helping each other out, learning the other person, and you know, bearing the infirmities of the weak.
Hmm.
They're we're actually kind of opposite. We're kind of opposite in our personality. Um, so the things that he the things that he is thank you. The things that he is his strengths are my non-strengths, and my non-strengths, vice versa. The things that I am are strong at is the areas where, you know, may be his non-strength. So we know how to come together and to defer to one another. Um, and not feel any jealousy or envy or competition. We just know that, okay, this is your thing. This is where you shine. This is where you do well. And we just work together to make each other better. And we hear a lot about what does the man bring to the table, or what does the woman bring to the table, um, in a relationship. And these are things, quite honestly, are things that you need to be discussing prior to you getting married. The time that we've been hearing a lot about, where do you go to eat on your first date, and I don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory, and I don't want to eat at chain restaurants. All of that stuff is foolishness. Okay. All of that stuff is foolishness, because when I think back, you know
Hmm.
30 years ago, when we met in 1992. Okay. uh you know, we spent a lot of time when we would see each other. We
Hmm.
spent a lot of time talking about our past. I'm gonna just be upfront with you. We
Hmm.
really did. We spent a lot of time. Thank you. Um, we spent a lot of time talking about our past. Him asking me about, my past, any past relationships that I had, um, my dating history, asking me, why did I want to be with him? Why was I in his life? And I had women that said, he asked you that? I wouldn't have asked that. I wouldn't have answered that question. He couldn't have asked me that. You know what I said to them? He didn't ask you. He asked me. And that's what I told him. I said, he didn't ask you. That he asked me. And, and I wasn't trying to be mean and I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to them. But at the same time, I was trying to get them to understand that, this really isn't your decision. This is my decision. And we hear a lot about, well, you're not the man who I thought I married. Did you even get to know the person that you married? And a lot of people don't even really get to know. They're worried about whether they're going to eat cheesecakes or chicken or whatever, or where they're going, but they don't really know who they marry. They really don't know who they married. They don't know anything about their past. They don't know anything about what makes that person tick, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what makes them, be excited and glad. They don't know anything about them, to be honest. And so when they're finding out, they don't know whether they want to have children or not. They don't how many children do you want to have? They don't know. They don't know. And or what happens is everybody gets physical. The first thing that happens is they get physical. They're intimate before they get married. And so now everything is clouded up. Everything's all clouded up. You're tied with each other physically, but you still don't know anything about them. And now you're going, that's what a lot of people don't even ever get to the point where they ever get married. And nowadays, the people who actually do get to the point where they get married, they've done so many things. They put so many, carts before the horse, that now when they finally do get married, they really don't know who they married, because the time that they should have been investing in getting to know one another, finding out about their past, finding out about, who they, thank you, Terry Steve, finding out about who they marry, who they're in a relationship with, is this guy even on the same page as you? Is this woman on the same page as you? What is that person's heart? And it really doesn't take that long to find out, if that person, is somebody that you want to see after that first date. That's why it's called courting. That's why it's called courting. People don't court anymore. They don't court anymore. They're here. Now they're with somebody else. Oh, now I'm with you. Now I'm back to you. And nobody's really taking time out to establish, a relationship.
And that translates right on over into these quote unquote people trying to be business owners.
Yeah.
You can't, because your first, let's just be real. Your first real relationship of anything that you to be committed to outside of your mother and father and all of that is a relationship with this person you have some type of physical attraction to. And if you can't be committed to that, if you're up and down about that, if you don't know how to measure whether or not, or judge or discern whether or not that person is even legit, and you keep getting your heart broke, you keep attracting the same crazy man, the same crazy woman, then guess what? You're going to be hopping into another crazy business opportunity after another, after another, after another. So you take that not having, good one-on-one personal non-business relationship connections, it can happen there. And yes, there's those anomalies of people who are really, really good in personal relationships, but bad in business, and vice versa. But the vast majority of people, if they're not good in their human being relationships, non-business relationships, they're not really that great as a business owner. They don't know how to stick to it. They're always looking for it the bottom to fall out. And that's why many folk out here are struggling, and then they call themselves trying to teach you. And I mean, it's just the same as with these physical relationships of between men and women. Oh, I didn't have a good relationship. Now I'm gonna be your life coach, and and because I went through all kinds of mess in my relationship, I can teach you. Well, because I wasn't successful in my business endeavors, I can teach you, and that's not really how it goes. You gotta learn to the point where you can be solid in both. If you can't be solid in both, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle. And to me, it's not that I should struggle. I should struggle in one or the other. You need to be solid in both. You need to really be solid in both.
I don't know what I'm doing with this.
Oh, it's over here.
I did. I
You
didn't do
know,
that right.
yeah, you got to learn to be solid in both. And to me, that should be a goal that in my non-business relationships, I'm solid. In my W-2 relationships, I'm solid. In my business relationships as an entrepreneur, I'm solid. And if you got to step back and take things just a little bit at a time, that's cool. But it's too much accelerating, because what happens in the non-business relationship for being this relationship of dating and kicking it with each other, you're trying to accelerate it into something where you got that person on lock, they got you on lock, nobody can be, and you start trying to do that in all your business. And when it don't work out, then you say, well, I'm on to the next thing.
Well, you have to function in every area of your life with integrity and honesty, where you can be trusted. And everything, if you're not this, if you're living a life of duplicity, if everything's a shambles, within your marriage, within your family, it's going to be really hard for you to go forth in business and really grow and develop and get better, and uh, grow a business, and really be able to network and form business relationships, because you aren't doing it in your main
Mhm.
relationship at home. And you've heard of people um see that husband or that wife, that mom or that dad, they see them out in the public, and it's like, oh, you can get along with this person, or you can get along with that person, and but you can't treat me right at home. You can't treat the husband right with
Mhm.
respect at home, or you can't treat the wife right at home with respect. You don't treat the children the way that you should be looking out for your children and taking care of them and nurturing them. All of these things are intertwined together. You can't be one way here and another way in public. After a while, the two, or it's all going to be coming out. It's all, you're going to end up being exposed at some point or another. And so it does carry over into your business. It does help tremendously when you know you are supported by your spouse. If you work in business, both of us worked on regular jobs for many, many years,
Mhm.
and we both needed encouragement. We both needed support. We both had our home as a sanctuary, where he knew that he could come home and he could talk about what happened during his workday, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent.
Mhm.
And the same thing for me. When I came home from work, I could come home and I could talk about um, what happened during my workday, to help unload that stress. And then I still had to make sure that I wasn't bringing work home, so to speak, not
Yeah.
just actual physical work, like always doing work, which I'm a
Mhm.
teacher, so a lot of times I was bringing work home, unfortunately. But um also bringing the stress of, work home. And, you know, I when I decided I wanted to leave, you know, my job with the public school system, and I wanted to go ahead and retire, it's like this is just too stressful for me. I can't take it anymore. And I talked to my husband about it. I called him down to the school. I
You
didn't
actually talked to me. Wait a minute, you didn't do like modern women do, just do it and don't,
no,
and leave the
no,
husband out in the cold
no,
and have him scrambling to try to figure out how
no,
to get everything
no,
together and do. Oh man,
no. And that was the thing. I didn't just come and say, I want to leave my job and that's it. And that's what I'm going to do. And I didn't do that. I actually had to do my research to find out, what was the procedure, what was the process that I needed to take, because I wasn't working at a fast food restaurant. I was working for the public school system. I was a teacher, teaching 11th and 12th graders cosmetology. So I needed to make sure that, I had all of my ducks in a row. I knew that we had already discussed, prior to that school year starting. And I was getting ready to take another turn, but I couldn't take those steps unless my husband was going to be able to be on board with me about it. So I did. I contacted him. I talked to him face to face, in my office at work. And I said, hey, I can't do this anymore. I'm stressed out. I want to leave my job. And he was like, when do you want to leave? I said, when do you want to leave? you know, and he was like, "Let's get your stuff." And he had been trying to
mhm.
get me to leave for a while, and I was just like, "Oh, all right, we're not, you know, I'm not working at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with the people that work at McDonald's, but I'm just saying I couldn't just walk out the door. There were things that I had to make sure that were done. I had to make sure that I, did a proper um turnover. And but he supported me. He supported me. I told him exactly when I wanted to um, transition away from my job and retire. And I also I didn't this is a lot of things too. And I'm gonna tell on myself. I would come sometimes and I would come with emotion. I would come with emotion. And I've had to learn not to lead with my emotion, where, I'm not actually thinking things through and thinking things through logically. You know, I had to really learn how to speak my husband's language when I wanted to present something to him, because he thinks differently than I do. Um, I must come with, this is the way that this is what's going on. This is what the situation is. This is what I have found out could be the solution to what I'm going through. This is the research that I've done. This is the way that I approach my husband. I do not just come to him going, "Oh, I just want to leave. I just want to do this. I just want to do that." I've done that in the past. It doesn't work. Okay. It just doesn't work. Approaching my husband in that way. And so I know now that if I want to um, do something, that I must come with, this is what I've researched, this is what I've done, this is what I would like to do, this is why I want to make this move, this is why I want to pivot from this direction and going into another direction. And this is how my current situation is affecting me spiritually, physically, and mentally. You've got to be able to communicate. And I will say this for us and to us as women, we have got to learn how to communicate, you know, in a way that our husbands understand. All of this, crying and screaming and
Mhm.
I used to do all of that. I used to do all of that, and it doesn't work. It just that's the best way that I um you know, it doesn't work. And I used to do that a lot, just always, emotional, emotions, on always worn on the, the edge of my sleeve. And I've learned as I have continued to live and grow that I've got to keep my emotions in check, that I have got to, you know, not blow things up in my mind, because I used to, like overreact, and it's like, wait a minute, let's look at what's happening, let's look at what's going on, let's calm down, let's take a breath, okay, and let's really see what's happening. And and I had to learn not to make, excuse me, decisions when I am very high in my emotions, and also um, not making a decision when I am, upset, or um, something has made me angry, or whatever the case might be. That's not the best time to make, a decision. Sometimes I've had to wait a few days. Sometimes I've had to, stop and pray about something, and really get the proper direction for what I'm about to do. And as I've learned to continue to do that, um, more and more and more, as the longer that we have been married, things have gone a lot smoother for me. And I'm saying this as a wife, as a mother, and as a woman, because I used to just be like, oh my gosh, everything was always the end of the world. I was always crying all the time. Ah, I was always crying all the time, all the time. And um now I very rarely shed a tear. He knows that I very
Mhm.
rarely shed a tear. And it's like I've I had to learn to get myself together,
Yeah.
because a lot of it was just I was fearful. I had a lot of fear. He told me, he said, you got to get your risk tolerance factor up. Because I just was like, I gotta have security. I've got to have security. What are you doing? It was I was like that. I was like that. So I really, if I didn't see how it was gonna, pan out in front
Mhm.
of my face, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want us to move forward in it. But now I had to learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. And I had to really learn to learn from the mistakes, the poor choices, and the bad decisions that I've made in the past. And that's my personal philosophy, that I feel like it's one of those three areas. You're either making a mistake because you just truly did not know the information. Basically you were ignorant in a particular area. So you made a decision, you went in a particular direction,
Mhm.
you said a particular thing out of your mouth, or you did something, but you really didn't know that because you said something or you did something, that you were going to come out, it was going to have this particular outcome. That's a mistake. But then once you come back and you do it again, and you know that when you did this before, or you said that before, that you had this particular outcome, and you go and you do it anyway, now you're getting into poor choices and bad decision making.
Mhm.
And that's where I've had to really, like I said, as a woman, and as a wife, and as a mother, I had to learn from my past mistakes, my poor choices, be able to recognize this is not a good choice.
Mhm.
This is a good choice. This is a bad choice. This would definitely be a bad decision if I pick this choice.
Yep.
And I had to really start thinking about what I'm doing. I don't make um permanent decisions when I'm emotional, or even when I'm tired. A tired mind rarely makes good
Decision.
decisions. So that's why I don't, if I'm tired, or what have you, sometimes you're like, okay, can I do anything about it at 12 o'clock at midnight? Most of the time, you may not be able to do anything about it. Okay, we're gonna, take care of this in the morning. We'll call so and
Mhm.
so at this particular time, what have you. But you cannot sit down here and, like I said, and I keep saying this as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother, you cannot sit down here and just say, I'm going to make this permanent, life altering decision because you feel this way in this moment. Those feelings are going to change. I guarantee it. My feelings always changed. Okay. They always change.
Mhm.
And so I always ask myself, if what I'm about to say or do, am I going to regret it 5 seconds after I do it? And if the answer is yes, then I don't need to say it. Then I don't need to do it. I don't need to go forward with that. I may need you to sit down and we need to talk about it. And then I noticed that a lot of the things that I used to get so up in arms about, I hadn't really sat down and talked to Griff about it in a real meaningful way where he actually knew, all of the ins and outs of the situation. Or I came to him with half the information. you know. So I had to mature away from that mindset. I had to mature away from um, you know, making sure that, oh, okay, I can do all of this on my own. Because when you first get married, I know for me, I was taking care of myself. I had my own job, I had my own car, I had my own apartment, and all that kind of stuff. And so you're doing everything for yourself. You're taking care of yourself. And so I had to move from that 100% independent mindset, and I had to learn how to um have be interdependent, because there are times where, my husband does need me to, be a woman and do my part, whatever that may be. And we've been through a lot together. We've been through times, we've been through, you know, um where he's been very, very ill, like chronically ill. And we've been through unemployment, long bouts of unemployment. We've been through, financial distress, and, where things have been, really, really tight. And for me, I was like, all the time, because I was like, security, I need stability, I need, you know, and I always was like the sky was falling all the time, you know, and um, when I look back on all of those times, I just was like, wow, I really needed, really needed to grow up. I really needed to grow up. I really needed to grow, develop, and get better, renew my mind, you know, and really adjust my expectations, because society will tell you marriage is this, relationship should be this, and your husband should act like this, your wife should act like that, your children should act like
Mhm.
this. And then that's what that's what it is today. Next week, though, somebody else will come to you and say, your wife should act like this, your husband should act like this, and your children should act like this. And it's a constant moving of the goalposts with relationships, and it's always a redefining of what, you know, your marriage relationship should be, and all of that. And I guess once I really understood that, I'm like, if I go by all of this stuff, um, you won't have a marriage. You won't have a family. Um, you know, it's really, really something that you have to be very intentional about. And you have to make up in your mind that this is how I'm going to approach this thing. We also, it's one thing that we made an agreement and a commitment to one another that when we had a problem, if we had something that we disagreed about, if we had a situation or a circumstance that he was on this end and I was on that end about it,
Mhm.
that when we talked about it, when we communicated about it, when we worked it out, when we came together and we came up with a solution, and then we also talked about how we were going to implement whatever solution that we came together with, um, that we weren't going to bring up that problem anymore. We weren't going to throw that problem. We weren't going to keep bringing that argument back up over and over and over again, because once we've resolved it, once we had determined that whatever the disagreement was, where we weren't on the same page, whatever, once we came to that conclusion that this was resolved, this is the solution, this is how we're going to, function going forward in this particular area of our marriage, there was no more, well, remember you did this, last week, or remember you did this 2 months ago. We don't do that. We do not do that. We do not do that. And if there was any of that tried to creep in, we reminded each other of that commitment. And I really believe that has really helped us a lot, because we're not constantly bringing up the past. We're not bringing up anything that was, could be deemed as a negative, and bringing up some stuff that is a constant trigger to one another. So that way you're not stuck in negativity. You're not stuck in your past, and you can actually continue to grow together. And we've spent more time in our marriage being growing in love with each other and being at peace with one another, so that when there has been any time of contention or anything like that, we work quickly to resolve it, so that we can get back to being in peace with one another. And because we don't like being, where we're not on the same page, where we're at odds with one another. We don't even like the way that feels. We really don't. And a lot of it I had to work on me. I really and truly did. I had to work on me. Because when it came to that emotion stuff, I had to get that in check. I really did. I had to get that in check, so that I was not saying things that I would regret, that I was not speaking death to my husband, that I wasn't speaking death to my marriage, that I wasn't speaking death over my children. Listening is wanting to hear. So you have to really want to hear what your husband is saying. Your husband has to really want to hear, what his wife is saying, and you got to want to hear when your children are trying to talk to you.
And that goes into even with what we do here. Um, I mean, I find it amazing how I will say stuff here on these videos, and I'm not the most articulate person, but I put forth every effort to be as articulate as I can be. And I will say something, and it just amazes me how I will say a statement, clearly say what this is and all of that. And then somebody will completely take it way left, way right. And I'm like, where did you get that from? And what I'm learning is it doesn't start here with people not listening to you or me or misunderstanding you or me on social media. It happens back at their home and they bring it here.
Mhm.
And that's why sometimes y'all hear me when I talk, I'm sometimes repeating myself or I'm saying it different ways because I'm trying to make sure that based off of the various different types of personalities that are out here, that I'm saying it in such a way that an individual who has this personality, that mindset, that attitude can understand that this is what I'm saying. And I know it can frustrate people that's like, man, just say what you got to say and be gone. But it's amazing because people, when they don't understand you, they assume that you meant something else or that you're trying to say something, but they will never really ask you for clarification. They will tell you what you meant. They will try to clarify what you said without even really asking you what you said, or they will say it in such a way where they give the clarification first, and then they want you to agree with their clarification. And I'm like, and I'm not the type that will agree with the clarification if the clarification ain't right. No, that ain't what I said. I said this. And that's why sometimes y'all hear me. I'll say, well, how did you get that? Where did you ascertain the fancy word that I meant this when I, gave a, I prefaced it with these statements here, and I don't see that, and that happens not just with me, but with other people who have social media channels, whether on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. But what I understand is that it doesn't start here. It
Mhm.
starts back in their other life. They might be a manager who doesn't listen to the people who they're managing. They might be, the owner of a business who doesn't listen to the employees. It might be a husband who don't listen to his wife. It might be a wife who don't listen to her husband. You don't listen to people over here and then you bring it online and you're waiting for somebody, whether it's because they're a man, because they're a woman, because they're black, because they're white, that oh, when they open their mouth, they're going to say, and you already have a prejudice towards them for whatever reason. And if they say anything, a keyword or whatever, your trigger word, then it's instantly, yeah, this is what you mean. You're coming like this, you're saying it. And sometimes you got to stop and take a step back and say, okay, let me really hear that person's heart. And you have to want to hear the person's heart. You have to want to hear the truth of what they're saying. And I understand, and well, we should all understand by now that nobody is ever going to say stuff exactly the way you need it to be said for your complete total comprehension. But it doesn't mean it's not comprehensible. Just because the way they said it isn't the way you want it said so you can comprehend it doesn't mean that it's not comprehensible. How do you get now? You got to figure out how to comprehend what somebody said, even though it wasn't said the way that I want it to be said, which means all the way back to your relationships prior to you ever starting a business or being even at a job. You got to learn how to hear and understand and comprehend the statements of another person. But that also has what also can impact it is that when you're not good at articulating yourself, you feel everybody, you get confused, and it's a whole big circle. So,
It's a lot of projection.
yeah,
We talk about this all the time because people respond out of their own experience. So, two people can be looking at the same video, can be reading the same comment, and can see the same situation and come away from it with two different interpretations as to what they have read or what they heard or what they saw. And it's because of how they're interacting in their relationships, whether as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, as a child, whatever, and the things that they're going through over here actually has an effect on how they function and how they hear and how they interact in their other relationships, i.e., your business relationships. So if you have, if you're a man and you have a problem with women and you have a problem, and all that kind of stuff, then when you start interacting with women in business, there's usually going to be conflict.
Yeah.
If you're a woman and you have a problem with men, for whatever reason you may have, then when you start entering into business, then you're going to have conflict with doing business, with men. If you have a problem as a parent with your children, you're having problems with them, and they're younger than you and all this kind of stuff, and then you start dealing with younger people in business, you're gonna have a problem with them because you got a problem with your,
and the young folk who got a problem with their parents, you're going to have a hard time honoring and respecting those older than you in a business industry. And I see it within the notary thing, and I know she sees it within the cosmetology.
Yeah.
And whether y'all realize it or not, there's a lot of similarity, parallels with the way things are happening, with the way people are dealing with each other in both, because everybody's trying to prove that they have the answer, and then I'm gonna teach you what I know, but you really don't know anything. You just know a small snippet of what you have, but then we're quick to say something's outdated. We're quick to say, well, that doesn't pertain here. Okay, then what does pertain? Do what pertains in your law, because when you look at the notary versus cosmetology, it's 50 different states, 50 different laws, 50 different ways. Cosmetology, people get their license, different hours, different schooling requirements, different everything, and the same way with notary. But you see the same thing of there's always this small group of people trying to control the narrative of that industry. They're trying to say this is the way it should be done, but they have no proof that it should be done that way. And that's one of the biggest issues. So what happens again, I believe it still starts back with their personal non-business relationships. They're trying to tell everybody this is how a relationship should be. This is how you're going to be as a man. This is how you're going to be as a woman. This is how you're going to be as a kid. This is how you're going to be as a dog, cat, squirrel, or whatever you got in your house. And when you don't have that, and it's all about control. There are some people that get into stuff and they want to control the narrative of it, because a lot of times those people aren't the ones who are going to really put forth the effort to do what it takes for themselves. They want everybody else doing for them, but they don't really do for anybody else. And what they do for people is very minimum, or they do it from a gaslighting perspective to make you feel bad. Like, well, I did this. Okay, the one time you decided to take your paycheck, man, and buy shoes for all the kids, that was 6 years ago when they was going to pre-K. And now they're way over here and you won't do anything. Okay, so you finally decided to cook dinner one weekend for the family. Well, that was a holiday weekend, but you ain't did nothing ever since. Now I know somebody, well, you saying women need to be, all I'm just saying, there's something that you as a woman could do for your family, but you're not doing it. And then the one time you do it, you use that for the next 20 years to say, well, I did this. Okay, well, the only reason why you cook the holiday dinner was because Big Mama was sick and nobody could go to her house that weekend. So we all came here, and that was 20 years ago, but you're still living off of that. No, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
No, we're not Grandpa and Grandma Griffins.
No, we ain't there yet, Oswald. No. Oswald, my man. We ain't there yet.
We still free.
We still pop locking and break dancing. That's right. Doing a Roger Rabbit. Doing a prep.
No, we're not grandparents yet.
No.
But yeah, that's something that we have really, really noticed, that you have a tendency to approach every relationship in your life how you are approaching your personal relationships, and it just it stems out from there. And I've worked with a lot of people where they they didn't have any authority or control at home, you know.
Mhm.
So when they came to work, um, when they
They
came
was
to work,
flexing.
they
They were flexing
were
hard.
flexing hard. They were, micromanaging. They were like control freaks because they didn't have any, control at home. They had no authority at home. They had no say so at home. They had, so I got to do it somewhere. I got to have some control. I have no control over here in this part of my life. So I am going to have control somewhere. So they go to work and they,
Or their business.
yeah, or their business, and they're
Mhm.
micromanaging, they're
Yeah.
controlling, and that type of thing.
And that's why I believe, and sorry about that, but that's why I believe some of these folk in this notary business, that's why they get into teaching. They get into teaching because they like, okay, many of y'all remember the young lady who stole my content along with other notaries' content and then put it behind some little firewall and was like, made it to where people had to pay her. So she stole our content, then put it behind some little crazy looking thing, and then was charging people $50 to get to it. What I talked about this. Many of you don't remember this probably, but she said this. Two things she said. The reason why she did it was because she saw other people doing it. Oh, I can just teach just as good as them. I'm more articulate than them. She saw other folk teaching and felt that she was more articulate than them. And she said, well, I spent a week doing it, so I need to get paid something. And I'm sitting here, okay. And I said, well, at that time, I said I had spent 8 months putting this content out there, and you didn't even give me a shot to get a dime off of what you're making. And I'm sitting here like, and what I learned real quick was that there are a lot of people out here who want to feel special. And I'm gonna be straight with y'all. I believe there's some people, men and women in this business, they're doing it because they know it can make them feel special. It makes them feel special to be able to say, I know this. It makes them feel special to say that they got a tip license. It makes them feel special that they, is a loan signing agent, notary signing agent, they're a trust agent. It's nothing wrong. I mean, you can have those titles, but that doesn't make you special. And if you're using this business to make you feel special, that's when you can end up sometimes hurting people because it's all about you. It's not about the people. It's not about the industry. It's not about learning how to do the job right. It's about being able to get the accolades. I keep hearing people talking about how they want to be on the Mount Rushmore of notary. They want to be at the NNA conference. They want to be at, you know, down there at the Atlanta Hair Show and all this kind of stuff. They want to be at these things so that they can get kudos. But in the process of doing it, they're leaving a whole bunch of bodies in their wake to get to the top. And they're not really trying to take anybody with them except to use them as a step ladder to get to the top because they want to be at the top and they don't want to share any glory with anybody. And those are the people you got to watch out for. And a lot of them are very subtle, very quiet about doing it, but they're doing it. So this is why I always tell y'all, you got to ask the questions. You got to question people and make sure that you challenge them on these things because are they using this educational thing? Are they using the conference thing? Not everybody. Are they using this book that they wrote, this website that they built, this product that they're selling as a way to just use you as a stepping ladder to get to what they think is the pinnacle of that industry?
And you really, and really when you think about your relationships, um life is just a compilation of relationships and decisions that you're making within those relationships. um you've really got to, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I functioning the way that I'm functioning within my marriage? Why am I functioning this way with my children? Why am I carrying myself this way as a woman or or as a man? Am I living this way because I'm being influenced by what I'm looking at, what I'm listening to, where I'm going, and who I'm hanging with? You really have to ask yourself that question. Why am I functioning the way that I'm functioning? Why am I carrying myself this way? Why am I dressing this way? Why am I saying the things that I'm saying? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Um, you know, And I really had to, I've really had to say that, and I've had to do that. I've had to block out a lot of the, the noise that is out there, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to business,
Mhm.
when it comes to, bringing up my children. Everybody didn't agree, on how we we were bringing up our children. Not saying that our children are 100% perfect and there was no challenges and stuff like that, but we knew, we're like, okay, we know our sons, we know how, you know what makes them tick, you
Mhm.
know and we had to stay the course. We've had to stay the course with our children, even into adulthood, even though your role in their life adjusts and
Mhm.
changes, because they're not little babies anymore, and they're more independent, and they're not in your sight every as much as they are when they're younger. Um but even with that, we had to know that, hey, how we want to end up is how we need to start out. We can't sit down here and be wishy-washy. We have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've had to learn how to do. We're still working on it in different areas of our lives. We're working on, getting our house in order and learning how to be consistent in every area of our lives. And that's a challenge. That's a task, to be consistent. When you're doing something and you're being consistent, you're doing it every day, over and
Over
over,
again.
consistently, over a long period of time. That's when you start to see growth and success and longevity. You don't get that, um, just because you say, well, I want to be the best at something. No, you got to learn how to be consistent at doing it. Over time, you got to learn how to be committed. You got to learn how to be honest. You got to learn how to have integrity. You got to learn how to be trustworthy every day. And you really do have to do that in a marriage. You got to wake up every day and say,
Mhm.
I'm going to be committed. I'm going to, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be trustworthy. Yes, I'm going to submit. Yeah, I know the word submit is like the S word nowadays. But we've had to submit one to another. There were times when, yes, I had to submit to my husband. He is the head of our household. He is the head of our family. He is the spiritual head and the physical head of our family. So I just don't sit down there and go, I'm gonna do all of this, and don't talk to my husband about it. And then there's things that he's has learned over time, because that was something
Mhm.
he was used to just make a decision. And then he would come back and tell me afterwards, and I was like, I wish you would have talked to me about that first. But that was early on in our marriage. Then we started, we learned, okay, we just can't go out in here and go do this and go spend this and, make this decision without sitting down and talking to each other. So we wouldn't have to hear that, well, I wish you would have talked to me about it first, but you're leaving me out, or, you're making me feel a certain type of way. You can skip all of those type of conversations when you
Mhm.
learn how to relate to one another. See, the word is called relationship. You're
Mhm.
in that you're in that ship together, relating to one
No,
another. And so you're not, people say, oh, I want to be in a relationship, but they don't know how to relate to one another.
they don't even want to be in the
Yeah,
ship.
they really don't.
They in their own separate ship. Everybody, and that's even with the
Hey, Sister Diamond.
what's going on,
Hey,
Diamond.
family.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. I mean, with business relationship, your your W-2 work relationship, and your business relationship. The word relationship is at the end of all of that. So how do you relate to the person you're in a ship with? How do you relate to them? And that is the thing that I keep trying to get y'all to understand. But a lot of you, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, and y'all know that y'all go and y'all hear what I'm saying, but you're listening to what they saying, and it's more them saying something completely opposite that tickles your funny bone, rather than your practical common sense bone of, okay, I hear that, but that doesn't make sense. And I'm telling you, when you start questioning what people are saying, and sometimes just question it within yourself. Okay, you said that. How's that supposed to work? Like Dr. Phil would say, how that working out for you? So somebody said, hey, you can do it this way. This is how your relationship to me. And it's amazing that many people probably listening to this now and on the replay will say, well, yeah, you're careful about who's entering in your personal relationship with another human being, but you're not careful about who talks to you concerning your work relationship or your business relationship. You just like, I'm a this, and the reason why we get turned in the wrong direction in any kind of relationship is because we get lazy. We get lazy and we don't want to put in the work, and we just want somebody to do what? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And you don't even vet it.
You can't be lazy and be successful. We can't look. Look, I'm not saying that I am an expert on what you're supposed to do with your marriage, because everybody is different and every marriage is different. But I do know this: I could not be a lazy wife. I could not be a lazy woman. I could not be a lazy mother. I have to be engaged. I have to be consistent. I have to be intentional about the way that I carry myself as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother. As a business person, I have to be intentional. I have to be consistent. I have to focus. I have to pay attention. I have to make sure that I am, very, very cognizant about who I get into a relationship with, in business as well as, in my personal life. And I have to keep duplicity out. I can't be one way over here and another way, in business. I can't be, you cannot be a liar. I can't be double-minded. I can't sit down here and be untrustworthy. You can't. A lot of the same stuff that you talk about in business is the same stuff in your marriage. Really, I can't sit down here and lie to my husband. I can't be a liar. I can't be a cheat. I can't sit down here and be lazy. I can't sit down here and be a burden to him. I can't sit down here and run up debt and buy Gucci and Lucci and Coach and Chanel and Michael Kors and all of these things and run up all these bills and become a burden on him and say, well, I don't care. That's your job. You pay for it. You this, you that. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. But that's what's going on. That's what's going on in society. And it's the same thing. If you have that mentality in your personal life, in your marriage relationship, guess what? You're going to do that in your business. So when the money comes in, instead of you reinvesting back into your business, making sure that all of your business finances and responsibilities are taken care of, when you don't do that, if you're not doing that with your personal finances within your marriage, and you're being a burden and you're irresponsible with the finances that come into your hands personally, you're going to do the same thing professionally. You're going to do the same thing with the money that you earn from with your regular jobs and the money that comes into your businesses. And what's going to happen? Your business, your marriage will collapse if you function that way, and your business will collapse if you function that way, because you have to be consistent across the board. You have to be honest across the board. You have to be an excellent steward of your finances, of your time, of your talent, and of your treasure across the board. You can't be wishy-washy. You can't be sometimes up and sometimes down and sometimes level to the ground. You cannot be that way. You cannot be that way. You have got to learn how to be, balanced. And that's why you see so much of what you see in business and in business relationships, in marriage relationships, where people are just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
They are all over the place. And it can be very, very, it can get on your nerves when you come into contact with that level of chaos. When you, when you come into that, that contact of that chaos where people are inconsistent and they're liars and they're untrustworthy and they're scammers and they're stealing and they're becoming a burden on your business. And you know why? Because that's the way they operate with their family. That's the way they operate with their husband. That's the way they operate with their wife. They don't take care of their children, so when they come into the business world, they're doing the same thing. Some people operate like that on their jobs. They don't come to work on time. And when they do come to work, they don't work. Or they're unprofessional. Or if they do get any work done, it's because somebody's got to stay on them to make sure that they do the work. They don't know how to, they're not self-starters. They don't, know how to work on their own. If somebody's not standing over top of them saying, you better get this done by this day and this time, and if you don't, you're going to be fired. It's like there's people that's the way you gotta function with them in order to get any work, any production out of them. See, if you're that type of person, once again, in your marriage, as well as that's the way you're going to be in your business.
You're going to be that way.
That's just the way. Yeah. That's who you are. You are who you are. Yeah. And then you're going to attract. Look, that's the law of magnetism.
Yeah.
You attract who you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. You attract what's in you. Okay. You attract what's in you because people connect to people who are like kindred spirits. So if spiritually, if you're lazy, guess what? You're going to attract lazy people in your life.
Yeah, you're going to be going after, and see, when you're lazy in business, the default is to spend money to supplement or to cover up.
Yeah, just throw at the problem.
Right. I'm going to throw at the problem. I don't want to study and learn it myself. I'm going to throw money at it. That's why people will call me up and like, how much would just want to pay me to do stuff for them or to teach them or to tell them, no. I want your money. No. We're going to learn. We got to learn, because if I can teach you, if I can help you to learn, then you'll be able to do this thing on your own when you're out there in the thick of things. And a lot of y'all have been in the thick of things and you didn't know what to do. Again, going all the way back to a week or so ago, when the person talking about, I'm trying to notarize the signature of a deceased person.
When he told me that, I was like, wait a minute, hold the phone. I said, now you mean to tell me that shouldn't even have been an issue?
No.
That shouldn't have even been a question that was asked, because for one thing, the person is already deceased and you can't notarize their signature. They're already gone. They're already dead.
Right.
And so they're not there. They're not there for you to, may I see your form of ID to make sure that you are who you say that you are, and to make sure that you sign your name as it is on the document and all. Look, I'm not even a notary and I know this stuff. So where's the comprehension level?
But when you're lazy, when you're not disciplined in other areas of your life, it comes over here. And this is why I say, even with the cosmetology, when you're not disciplined in the cosmetology as a student in learning cosmetology, you're not going to be disciplined as a stylist. You're not going to be disciplined as a salon owner. You're not going to be disciplined as a school owner. You're going to always try to find shortcuts. Same thing in the notary world, same thing in other realms of business. If you're lazy in those areas of business, in those parts of your life, it has to come over. It has no choice because it's attached to you.
But it's who you are.
It's who you are.
You can cover it. You can fake the funk for a little while, but who you are is going to come and rise up to the top, and it's going to show And that's why every day you got to do something to grow and develop and get better. 30 years doesn't happen if we were still the same people that we were when we were 25.
Hmm.
You know, I, like I said, I had to work on me. I had a lot of stuff that I had to work on. And you know, you said, well, you didn't have to work on him, you didn't have to train him. No, he is not. And I hear people say that about their husband. I got to train him. Like, no, he is a grown man. No, he is a grown man. I'm not his mother. He had parents. You know what I'm saying? I'm not his mother. I'm not here to raise him. You know, no, I'm not. I have sons. I have sons. But he's not my son. He's my husband. And so that's the thing that I had to look at myself. And just like he had to look at himself and say, okay, this didn't work. This didn't, we went in the wrong direction, this, that, and the third. I had to look at myself. And you hear me say, I had to look at myself. I had to look at myself. And I always tell my husband this, because I had to really understand that, because you don't realize as a woman that a lot of the things that is being said and put forth in society as the right way to think and the right things to do and the right way to say things creeps into your life. And you don't understand why your marriage is on the rocks, or why things are rocky and things of that nature. And it's because you've allowed things to creep into your mindset that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so I had to really understand that I had to grow away from some of those things that was causing me problems within my marriage. And it was just because, we were young, and I just didn't know. And we didn't have a whole lot of, these examples where, this is the way that you need to conduct yourself as a man, or as a woman, or as a husband, or as a wife, or we had a few examples,
Yeah.
different that came from different people.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of older women in my life that taught me about different aspects within my life. I had some older women that, was an example about how to function as a wife. And then I had other people that were older women that, talked to me about things about how I was supposed to function as a woman. And then I had, other older women in my life that talked to me about how I should approach, bringing up my children. And so with all of those different people that were in my life strategically, I was able to gain the wisdom that was needed to function like I was supposed to function in my life. Some of the women were within my family, blood relatives. Some of the women were, just older women who were, elders, that weren't necessarily related to me, but they were elders and they were mentors within my life. And for whatever reason, I always just had people for friends that were like 20 and 30 years older than me. And it really helped me in my life. It really and truly helped me in my life to be able to understand how I was supposed to function. And I understood that Griff is a grown man. I am not here to try to raise him. I'm not here to try to train him. I'm not here to try to tell him what to do and all this kind of stuff. Do I, discuss things with him and make suggestions and things of that nature and bring things to his attention? Do I remind him of things? Yes, I do. Okay, yes, I do. Do I ask him about things? Hey, did you remember to do this and things of that? Yeah, because I'm the helpmeet. So he gets busy at times. So he does need to, have somebody to remind, hey, don't forget this. And sometimes he reminds me and say, hey, don't forget this, remember to do that. Did you get this taken care of?
You got to be there for each other.
Yeah, be there for one another, because life gets really hectic. It gets busy at times. Our schedules get really full. And so we want to make sure that we're not allowing anything to fall through the cracks. And we help out with our sons the same way. Did you do this? Did you do that? Just reminding one another, helping one another, bearing the infirmities of the weak. Sometimes for me, I'm stronger and I can help him, and I can help hold him up. Sometimes he's stronger and he can help hold me up. It really depends on whatever is going on at that particular time. But I know that I can't be, just worried about appearances, and there's things and decisions that he has made and that I have made within our marriage that only we, or just within our family, that only we really know about. Because we know if we shared it publicly, oh, yeah, people would be like, I wouldn't do that, and I can't believe she did that, and I can't even believe she allowed him to do that, and that's what we would get. So we're smart enough to know that this doesn't go any further than than right here.
And it's not that it couldn't help some people, but again, because people don't know how to listen and hear what has been said and being said, they take it the wrong way. They just automatically assume the negative. And see, look, now y'all understand why I work so hard and I do what I do, because I have this wonderful wife and this family to take care of. So I will take an order for $60 for $20. I will do that, and I don't care if you don't like it, because I got to do what I need to do for my family. Now, if you don't feel you need to do that to take care of your family, and you may not even be in a position that you have to, and that's understandable, and I respect that. Whether you respect what I do or not is inconsequential to me, because I'm going to do it anyway. I know what I need to do, and I'm going to do it. That's what being a man is about. That's what being a grown-up is about. That's what being a business owner is about. Doing what you see you need to do and making the money that you need to have for your family. I'm not worrying about all of this other stuff, all of this here she foo stuff. You can get all fancy if you want, but the bottom line is each and every single one of us in this notary business came in here to make money. And too many of y'all keep making excuses not to make money. You keep taking on other people's excuses not to make money, and then you're wondering why you're not making money. You're not making money because you done took on somebody else's excuse why they won't do the orders. So you said, me too.
Who's in your ear? That's really...
So this is your real Me Too moment. Your Me Too movement is, oh, you ain't doing that order? Me too. Oh, you won't take that order? Me too. You won't go here? Me too.
And that's how people are acting in business. This is how people are acting in their marriages. This is how people are acting within their families. And then they wonder why they don't have longevity. They don't have success. You cannot have a get rich quick mentality. You cannot think that, oh, I'm just going to have this, add another, you just can't have this, everything's going to happen overnight. I'm going to get rich quick. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. You don't get to 30 years of marriage or 30 years in industry. Like I've had my cosmetology license since 1985. So that's like 37, 38 years or whatever it is on. Please don't, hurt me on my math, but it's closer to 40 years. Okay. And that doesn't happen without, a level of consistency. You putting in the work, you putting the time and the effort. when I first got into the industry, I couldn't be a teacher. I couldn't be an instructor of cosmetology when I first got my license at age 18. I didn't have enough experience. I did not have enough experience in the industry to stand up before people and teach them how to do the industry. So I didn't become get into the educational side of, you know, the industry and work towards becoming an instructor until I was 10 years licensed, you know, in the industry. And that's when I transitioned into the educational, you know, path of the cosmetology industry. And that's the thing. How many of us are learning to be consistent in every area of our life? Will we learn to do something over and over and over again over time, over a long period of time? And that's what we've learned how to do. That's what we've learned how to do in our marriage. That's how we've gotten to 30. That's how we've gotten to 30. And like the young people say, loading. They'll put it up there on social media that, you know, something is loading. That's what we didn't get to where we are now because we stopped. Oh, we did what we had to do 30 years ago, and that's going to carry us for the next 30 years. No, we said I do 30 years ago. We said I do 30 years ago, and now we had to keep saying I do. We couldn't say I do 30 years ago and then the next day say, you know what, I don't anymore. You can't do that. You can't. I don't want to love, honor, and obey. I don't want to submit. I don't want to respect.
Same thing you got to do for your business. Love, honor, and obey your business. Love, honor, and obey the rules and regulations. I mean, so if you don't want to submit in your relationships with an individual, you're not going to submit to the relationship that you have with the business industry and the rules and regulations and the way that things supposed to be done. You're not going to submit to that. And if you really think about it, that is what a lot of people are fussing about in a lot of different business realms is I don't want to do it the way I'm supposed to do it. You get into a relationship, dating somebody, and not even got to the marriage part. You don't want to date the way it should be done, where you respect each other, you get to know each other.
You just want
to hop in there and like don't take me to the Cheesecake Factory. This is the way I want it to be done. Okay, work with somebody. You can't even learn. If you can't work with somebody at the Cheesecake Factory level, you're never going to work with them when they become a millionaire and if they lose the millions. So if you're unwilling to work with them at that level, you cannot work with them on the path to a higher level because you just want to be at the higher level. You want them to do all the work to get to the higher level. You want somebody else to do all the work to get to the higher level in that business industry. And you just want to sit here and give them a few ducats and say, okay, bless me and now make me on the same level as you. That's what you really want. And that ain't how it works. And then you get frustrated behind it not working that way. And now you run away and try to find something else and you keep hopping here, hopping there. And you're not getting anything accomplished. And then next thing you know, you're 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, 35 years old, and you still not anywhere you need to be. That's where the problem comes in at. And again, too many of you are trying to do things in your life for bragging rights. I'm dating somebody. We know a lot of people trying to hook up right now for the holiday season because they want to go home and be able to tell Big Mama and they want to tell Uncle Joe that, yeah, I'm dating. Look, Uncle Joe, look what I got. Yeah, I pulled a nice one, didn't I? Yeah, boy, that's what you want. You want bragging rights at the daggone Thanksgiving and Christmas table. That's what you really want. Then once that goes on, you might kick it with them through Valentine's Day. And then after that, I'm done. And then you're trying to find somebody else until the next holiday season comes around.
That's the thing. We got to move away from appearances we gotta move away from, and this is if you're married, you can't just be, I'm married and you're doing stuff. We had to really learn that, because we saw that there were times where everything that we were doing is because somebody said, somebody at the church said we were supposed to do it this way. So, it happens. You get sucked into groupthink, and that's what happens. And so we had to break out of a lot of that, and we had to start really, we had to really start thinking, are we doing this so that we can, impress, Peanut and them, or are we doing this because this is what is actually necessary for us to keep moving forward in the positive direction? And we had to learn how to fail forward. We had to learn how to fail forward, because if you failing and you just, crashing and burning and that's it, and you're not learning from the mistakes that you've made, the poor choices and the bad decisions, then what are you doing? You only have one time to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You only have one life to live. Like that soap opera used to be called One Life to Live. You only have one life to live. You don't get to do it all over again. Okay. And so I was just talking to Griff about this the other day. I was like, when I was talking about my business, I said, my whole thing now is to keep, from having setbacks within my business, setbacks that can be clearly avoided. And that's, I said, if I can minimize those setbacks, that cost you money, that cost you time, that cost you growth in your business, and it's the truth. The same thing with your marriage. Once you learn, maybe you go down a path, you make some decisions, and you find out the outcomes come, and it's like, oh, that didn't work at all. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you make a mental Post-it note. Hey, remember when this came up last time? Remember how that came out? We don't want to do that again. So what do we need to do to avoid that particular outcome? And that's when that's where that life experience comes in. If you're still making the same, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's not a mistake anymore. It's just insanity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing the same thing, expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. Okay, so you can't sit down here and go, well, I don't understand. I still don't understand why I end up in this situation, because now you're in a loop. It's really a demonic loop, where you're doing something. You say, well, man, I'm not gonna do this, and then you go back the very next day, and you do it again, and you go back the very next day, and you do it again. You're in a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a loop. If you're doing it every day, you're in the loop. And if you're doing it over time, that's a vicious cycle. If you're doing it over time, if you have the same time of the year and certain things keep coming up and they're negative, and they become, and you get set back every year because of this, that's a vicious cycle. And if you got habits in your life that are not positive, that does not bring about growth and a forward movement in your life, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You really, really do. You can't keep operating the same way. And I know for me, I don't like still having to deal with the same junk from last year, 5 years ago, all that kind of stuff. And look around in your life. You can look around in your room, in your garage, just in your house, and you can see the baggage that you have in your life, things that you should have thrown away, things that you should have gotten rid of, piles of trash or piles of paper or clothes that you don't even wear anymore, and stuff that you don't even use anymore. How much of that type of stuff is in your life? It is messing up your marriage. It's messing up your relationship with your kids. It's messing up your, what you may be doing at your job. It's messing up what you're doing in your business. You got to ask yourself why. Why did you get into your marriage? As a woman, did you just want to get married because so that man can cut your grass and put out your trash and, buy your groceries and, that's it? And have sex with you? I mean, that's it? That's it, but there's nothing that you have to do on your part. You don't bring anything to the table. You don't have anything to offer. You got to ask yourself, why are you wanting to get married? Why are you wanting to get married? Why do you want to be in a marriage relationship with someone for the rest of your life? Okay? Why? That is the question. Why do you want to be in the notary industry? Because it's not like Uber or Lyft or Grubhub or DoorDash. It is not that type of industry. Yes, it has now gotten to the point where it's mobile and notaries are mobile, but you've got to ask yourself, why do I want to get into this industry? And if you're looking at it as a side, can it be a part-time business? Yes, it can be. And yes, it was for my husband. That's how he got into the industry. And he discussed it with me. He said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this training because this training, I feel as though is going to help me and to understand the business, and it fits within our financial budget. He had a plan. And he said, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to approach it. Then when the plans changed or he had to, make an adjustment or a pivot, he discussed that with me as well. And I saw the growth. I saw the process that he was, taking, and that the execution that was happening. And that built my confidence in what he was doing. And he was still going to work every day. He was still going to his, regular W-2 job every day. And he was working his, the business part-time in the evenings. And so that was a process. He didn't just go, I'm going to do this as a side hustle, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. All of the stuff that people talk about in the notary industry and what they're not going to do, and what, I'm not going to take these low orders and blah, 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 blah. My husband never talked about that stuff. When he first got into the industry, he didn't. He wasn't a part of any Facebook groups. He didn't have time for all of that. He really didn't. He just got out there and he did what he needed to do. And he learned, and if there was any mistakes made or whatever, and it was brought to his attention, then he corrected them. And he continued to move forward, and he kept stacking. He kept stacking that experience. He kept building that resume. He became more entrenched in the notary industry. And it really wasn't until he, started sharing his experiences on YouTube that he started finding out that all of this other stuff was going on within the industry. But he was continuing to build, his experience, build his confidence. He was continuing to learn. It was really motivating for me as thank you, Kim Outlaw. it was very motivating for me as his wife to watch him go through the process and to start, you know, from the bottom in the industry and work his way up to where he is now, and the sacrifices that he has made, and how hard he works, and just the time and the effort and the investment that he puts in. And so me seeing that as his wife, I have no problem coming in and helping and doing my part, as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother. I have no problem with doing my part. I have no problem with, that's why when he was doing the face-to-face classes and things of that nature, I told him, I said, you can use my building. You can use my school and salon to, hold your classes. I said, why sit down there and rent out another whole facility when you can, utilize the building that we're already paying money for every month?
And it's sad that even with that little thing, there are a lot of people who didn't understand the concept of a husband and wife helping each other. And here's what I believe. I'm just saying. I believe any person, male or female, that did not like that or talk negative against it was somebody who didn't know or had not experienced that type of support within their own relationships. That wasn't anything about a bad business decision. That was about you not having that in your life, and you don't want somebody else to have that in theirs. And it might not even be me. It's like, and especially if it probably came from a young lady, you probably were jealous that she had that in her life, that okay, she could do that for her man. Or if you was a gentleman, you was upset that a man had that from his spouse to support him. Because a lot of time when you think about when people have issues with what you're doing in business, I'm telling y'all, it directly relates to how their personal life is. And you say, well, they might be single. Again, that's probably why they single. I'm telling you, when you look, there, and I saw a lot of people put up here black love and things of that nature, and I do appreciate that. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the reasons why I wanted my wife to be a part. You can go back and you can see there's all types of videos that me and her have done together, because let's just be real. You don't see that within the black community, the man and the woman they're married and they're supporting each other and they're actually showing each other. Heck, you don't even see that hardly this in our notary industry of anybody actually showing their spouse. It's all about their person. And sometimes you're like, are they even married? They sound like they married. I don't know, and all of that kind of stuff. And we're a team in it, and I don't understand why. And I understand some people aren't. She's not the one to be on video all the time. That's me. But I also wanted us to give an example of, be honest with you, black folk, black man, black woman working together and getting along with each other. And been, even if she didn't have her own business and I was doing this, I still want her to come up here to show, because we don't see that. We don't see it. And daggone it, y'all know, as men and as black men and black women, y'all want to see that example. You see what's going on with Will and Jada. You see what's going on with Tyrese. You see what's going on with a whole pack of other ones out there with Jeezy and the little Jenny Ma. And it's like, okay. And it can scare you off to like, okay, do I even want to do? I'm married, but do I even want to do business? Because will he or she support me? That's the question. Will they support me? And and yes, I purposefully have asked my wife to come on so that y'all can see that we are genuine. We get along. We love each other. We love working with each other and helping each other in the business. If she needs me to go get something, she leaves it here or do something, I go do it. There's none of that. It's okay, let me go do it. If I need her to do something for me, she will go do it for me.
Because we understand. I know for me, I tell them all the time, thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for investing in me and my family. And investing in my business. You know, when I think about the help that I have needed, um the majority of it has come from, my sons have helped when they have been able to help and stuff like that, and I have a few other people that have come in to help me with instruction, and Miss Diana, Miss Kim, and Miss Tatiana. I just want to say that, and I appreciate them. They have been there to help me with instruction, and I'm really, really grateful for their help. But you know, when it comes to really running that business and doing the things that need to be done from, I'm the principal, I'm the teacher, I do the administrative work, I'm the registrar, I'm the admissions officer, I'm all of those things. I collect the tuition. I'm also the hairstylist there and things of that nature. There is, but there's a lot of things that um, we have done together. And my husband said, we're going to do business with each other. A lot of people don't want to do business with us. They don't want to, help us. And so we stopped looking and being upset because people kept telling us no.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of times when you spend so much time trying to get outside people to help you, we stopped. We started just helping one another.
Yeah.
We started doing business with and for one another, because there's things that, I cut hair and all that kind of stuff. He knows he don't have to go nowhere else to get his hair cut and things of that nature. Same thing for my sons, and that type of thing. Same thing like with the building. Once we got the building where I'm at now, he knows if he needs a place to be able to do a signing, and the signers don't have anywhere that they actually want to meet, or they don't want to meet at their home.
Yeah.
He knows that he can bring them to the school, and they can do the signing at the school. I have desks, I have countertops, I have chairs. They can, if they need to go back in the classroom, they can go back in there, or they can do it up front, or what have you. If he needs a witness, and he can bring them there, and I can be there and be the witness. Whatever, any way that I can help him, I do what I can to help. And all of that stuff, you do that over time. It's not, like you said, it's not this, oh, why do I have to do this? No, because I benefit. I benefit when he wins. I benefit when I win. He benefits. It's we. It's we. We're speaking French. We. And that's the thing that, and we've learned how to be courteous and kind. A lot of married couples, they are not courteous. They are not kind to each other, let alone they don't respect one another. So we've learned
right on into
and so because they're disrespectful, they don't use their manners. They don't say please. They don't say thank you. They don't say, you know what? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I thank you for helping me today. They don't say that. So if they're not saying that to their husband or their wife, they're not going to say that to you in business. They're not going to, bring that type of respect, that type of work ethic, that type of, mindset into the business, because who they are is who they are. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that we have grown in, and even when we're dealing with our sons, we say, could you help us with such and such? Thank you. We really appreciate. Thank you for helping me. Those thank yous go a long way. When people feel appreciated, they don't have a problem with coming in and helping you. And when you show them, when in a marriage relationship, you're supposed to add value to that other person's life. And so he adds value to me, and I add value to him. And so we become worth it together,
Mm-hmm.
because we're constantly adding value to one another. And so we know we're worth it. We're worth it. You know, if I'm not bringing anything to the table, if I'm not adding value, if I'm always taking, guess what? He's going to be sucked dry, and then he's not going to have anything else to give. If he's always taking from me, and I'm sucked dry, then I'm not going to be able to have anything to give. I'm not going to have anything of value.
And then the person's going to want to move on. And then, as a caveat, there are human beings out there who are slick enough to mask all of that. But guess what? They're probably masking stuff from their spouse. If they're masking it in business,
Yeah.
they're masking it at home. Because then you get down to the nitty gritty. What are you really giving me that's of value? Because a lot of people can put on the front, they can put on a smile, have the perfect hair, have the perfect makeup, have the perfect outfits on. But then when you really get down to it, is what you're sharing with me is of any value to help me get to even halfway to the next level? It sounds good, but is it really the core of what I need to move to the next level? Is it real staying power? If it's not staying power, if it doesn't give me the ability to stay and last 5, 10, 20 years, then you probably not really giving me anything. You're just giving me a bunch of fluff. And some people will stay in a marriage because they don't want to deal with anybody else, or they're afraid that somebody's going to figure them out. So this person, I know they'll never be able to figure me out. They'll never know that I'm pulling the wool over their eyes. So I'm gonna stay there. And then they work in such a way, even within business or even at a job. Some people, you're like, why don't you leave? Because if they lazy and they don't really want to work, they know if they go to another job, they know if they take a position, that means they're going to have to work, and they're going to realize that you really don't know how to do. Just like what we had, even within our community, the Black community, there were certain people, they knew how to do stuff, but they couldn't get moved up higher, and they didn't want to get moved up higher. Why? Because they couldn't read. There's people who don't know how, when you move up certain levels, the way you are at this level has to change to go to the next level.
Yeah, we understood that even when we had our townhouse that we had bought. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Dark Moon Media 007. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
When the neighborhood that we used to live in, it wasn't, it wasn't bad when we first moved there. It became that way on our way from leaving there. But when we moved where we are now, we were like, oh, we can't function the way that we did when before we sold our townhouse. This is different. And so immediately we had to change the way that we thought, the way that we carried ourselves. We just couldn't do the same things. We lived in a different neighborhood. we lived in a different neighborhood, and it just is what it is. And a lot of times people are stuck. They're like, oh, I'm gonna move up to the next level, but you still have, the bottom step mentality. You can't have the bottom step mentality and think you're going to move up to the top step. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to change your mentality. You've got to come up higher. You've got to grow and develop and get better each and every day. And if you're not getting better every day, you're becoming stagnant, and then you begin to go backwards. And that's where a lot of people are. And sometimes you can be going forward in 5 areas of your life and be in one area and be going backwards because you haven't focused on that area and you've let that area slip through the cracks. It happens. But when you see that happening, and it might be like that even, within your marriage relationship, within your family, there was times where it was like that for us too. We were like, oh man, we let this stuff go. We let this pile up. We let this happen. We let that happen. And we had to go back and refocus and work on those areas and get those areas, up to speed where everything else was. And so, excuse me, you really have to, um, you just have to really be intentional about your life. You have to be really intentional. If you're married, you have to protect your marriage.
Mhm.
You have to keep, toxic people out of your life.
Yep.
If whether, you can look at their lives and see if their life is in a shambles. They always got, trauma and drama that stems from their unresolved trauma, that's constantly building up and oozing out of them all the time in a negative way. You're going to have to detach from those type of people. You're going to have to cleanse and purge
Mhm.
those type of people out of your life in order for you to keep moving forward. I mean, it just is what it is. You can't keep trying to keep these people in your life.
You gotta let them go.
You got to let them go.
Them Facebook groups, you gotta let them go.
Yeah, you got to let them go. And my husband knows I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have a TikTok account. I have 2 YouTube channels, but that's it. And I don't, even with that, I become very strict on how I deal with my YouTube channels and just how I conduct myself online. I very rarely comment. I very rarely comment. Um, I watch what I look at, and because that what I'm taking in is influencing me. So my husband, he knows. I'll tell him. I said I'll look at it tomorrow because there's certain things that I will not watch before I go to sleep. I do not want certain things, marinating in my mind when I'm going to sleep. So I think that deeply. Like, I'm not taking that in now. I don't want that in my subconscious when I'm, trying to go to sleep. So there's certain things I will watch early, in the daytime. Um, so I'm not thinking about it when I go to sleep. But I've always felt like social media was a time waster. I've always felt like that. He knows. I've always felt
Mhm.
like that. Is if I see something on Facebook, it's because you know he has shown it to me or what have you. I don't. I've never um had one of those. They made us have a Facebook, I think,
Twitter.
A Twitter account or whatever they're calling it this week, X.
Mhm.
They made us have an account that we were supposed to, tweet about what was going on in our classrooms with our students and all that stuff. And I think in 3 years of having that account for school, I had 22 tweets in 3 years. That's how little I used that account. And as soon as I retired from the school system, I was like, you know what? And I deleted the account, because I I have to be a good steward, an excellent steward over how I invest my time, and I have to make sure that I'm not taking in.
Mhm.
A lot of times people say, "Well, who's in your ear?" And there's somebody that's like right next to you, or a
Yeah.
friend. It's sometimes it's what you're listening to online.
You got this.
If you constantly listening to toxic, crazy gossip, tea channels, backbiting, women that is just sitting down here saying all kinds of stuff that how you supposed to be dealing, neck rolling, head jerking, you know, type
Mhm.
stuff, from all of that type of stuff. You're taking that type of stuff in, that can start seeping into your marriage. That can start seeping into, how you deal with people in business.
Oh, yeah.
I've really had to. I really have remained like that, and even I go through my subscription list from time to time, just so that I can make sure, like, do I need to be subscribed to this channel anymore?
Mhm.
Is it helping me? Is it helping me spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially? If it's not, then I need to go ahead and unsubscribe.
Yeah.
so that what's coming up even in my stream is, stuff that's going to help me get better. So
Mhm.
this
That's it, y'all. That's it. I mean, look, we was up here for 5 minutes and just share some stuff with y'all. We did the best we could to just squeeze it into a compressed 5 minute little talking. She had 2.5 minutes, I had 2.5, and we did real good to stay within our 5 minute window. So, but I really appreciate you again. Thanks for the
thank you
super
again.
chat and stuff
Thank you for all of your
and
well
support
wishes. Thank you,
everything.
support,
For
love.
those of you who watch this on replay, if you like what we're talking about, feel free to hit the super thanks. But again, I just say that because YouTube wants us content creators to say that. They want y'all to interact more. That's why we ask y'all to hit the like button and share and all of that. But really appreciate all of y'all. It says I much appreciate the wisdom, Prabhu. This is the first time for me hearing Mrs. G, and I'm honored to know how.
You hear this through social
Yeah,
media.
yeah, and feel free to look back at
Thank
some
you.
of our other lives. You'll see me and her up there and everything. We just hop on every now and then and just share with y'all, talk and everything. And look, honestly, I know my viewership is probably about 75% ladies. So I know y'all also want to hear from a lady. Y'all hear me all the time running my mouth. And I know sometimes it's good for y'all to hear from a lady. So here she is, and everything. So I allow, I let her come up here. Not allow, but she can come up anytime she wants. She know that, and talk and everything. So we're a team. And that's what it's all about. So this is the reason why I do what I do, and nothing's going to deter me from going out here and making the necessary financial money that I need to bringing in the revenue.
You're welcome.
So that I can do what I need to do for my family. It's that simple. I mean, I don't know. I mean, y'all see who I'm married to. How would it look? Y'all doggone y'all. I know this here about you young ladies, okay? Just from the ladies' perspective. I know doggone well if y'all knew that I had an opportunity to make money, irregardless of the dollar amount, and my wife hopped up here and said, he ain't taking orders, y'all would be all over me. And you know that. Y'all would throw all of that. I ain't moving for this. I ain't moving for that. You'll be like, Griff, you need to be taking care of that wonderful woman of yours. You need to be what I'm doing. But when you sit here and get all in your emotions and like, well, are you gonna tell me after no, why you worried about how much money you make or the level of the order is because you probably spent way too much to be in this business. You spent full-time money, but you're only doing it part-time. And when you spend too much money to be in something and you're not in a position to do it to its fullest extent, you start panicking. You start getting nervous. You start getting scared. I'm going to make the money up because I'm doing full time paid to be in something, but I can only work it part time or less. How am I going to get the return on my investment back? You got to be a little bit more smarter about it and just work it because guess what? You'll eventually get the money back. It's just going to take longer. But if you got it affixed in your brain that you got to get your return on investment back within 6 months, then you're going to be all over the place. Nothing that I ever say is ever going to make sense to you because it's going to be totally against what you believe you need to have in your life, which is 6 months return on investment. But if you do get it back within 6 months, are you going to then take those orders that are lower? Will you then? If somebody came and said, here's the money back that you spent, will you take those opportunities? It's either yes or no. Because for some of you, it ain't in you to take advantage of those opportunities because you think you are way better than what you are. You think you up here and you ain't even had a chance to even get on the ladder to start getting up there, but that's where you want to be because of the people you hang around with. That's where they have maybe have legitimately gotten to, or that's where they say they're at. You don't see any proof of it, but you just hear it out of their mouth. So you say, well, that's what I should be believing. I need to fake it till I make it. We don't fake anything over here. We put forth every effort to make it. That's what y'all need to do. All right. Well, we out. Y'all have a wonderful one. Thank y'all for everything.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you for all of the kind words, all of the encouragement, all the love, all the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And may the Most High Yah continue to bless each and every one of you.
All right, y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.